Kathy had a lot of challenges when she took over also, and she's met every single one of them. She has just come through a legislative session, not only with a number of her initiatives passing that help us, and sometimes, as she knows, the best offense is a good defense, but stopping things that would have been disastrous for this city and this state. She has been and will continue to be a good friend of this industry. So it gives me great pleasure and honor to introduce to you the governor of the state of New York, Kathy Hochul.
Lou, that was extraordinary and shows the depth of emotion that you feel toward what you've created here. Out of the depths of darkness and despair, you brought an organization to its culmination of where we are today, where you are an incredible powerhouse to be reckoned with all across the state, but particularly in our state legislature where we need some help sometimes. We'll leave that alone for now. But today I come to honor a movement and a man. This movement, all of you gathered here today, when I see labor working with contractors on behalf of the millions of people who get out there every day and put on the hard hats and go into risky situations and think nothing of their own well-being but making sure they get the job done right. I honor this movement and what you've done in the past and what my expectations are of what we're going to do together going forward. Yes, during the pandemic, you were tested, and so many projects put in the necessary safety required, but there was never a playbook for this. No one handed you a book that, well, if a pandemic happens, this is what you do next. You had to figure it out in real time and made decisions. Stay home, show up at work. Look, what's the best way you can protect your members? Vaccinations, masks, everything. It took us to a whole new level, but you rose up and met that occasion and kept building. And that's going to be part of the legacy of this organization and this city, that through it all, the darkest of days, you kept showing up and building. And as a result, we have beautiful buildings and projects that could have been waylaid for years. We're in a tough time. People thought that the pandemic would be gone and the lights would go back on and we're back to normal. Didn't happen, but that's all right. That's all right. We've been knocked down so many times before, and our strength that's in our DNA as New Yorkers is to get back up, put on the gloves, and get back in the arena. That's what you're doing every day. And I know there's forces outside our control, interest rates and inflation and supply chain and all these other variables that seem to be conspiring against us at a time when we should be just rising up. But we're going to get through it. And when people talk about the demise of cities across this nation, you only need to look to New York and say, no, not here, not happening. And you're the ones that are going to make that happen. And I'm grateful for every one of you. I've had many opportunities to work closely with Lou as he wanted to bring more women into your ranks. We did forums with women. He's done so much to help bring young people, people from underserved communities, into the opportunity to work with their hands and someday run a company and live the American dream that my family lived, coming from very desperately poor immigrants who ended up making steel with their hands. That took my family out of poverty. So that's the dream I want for everyone. This organization makes that happen. And what you're focusing on here today, the mental health of the workers, I am so grateful that you're enlightened enough to bring up this topic, because for so long, people had to deal with the stresses of life. But there was a stigma associated with asking for help. I saw this everywhere I turned. When I was in Afghanistan, as a member of the Armed Services Committee in Congress. I saw people who needed help, but there's a pride, or members of our teaching facilities and our universities and workplaces. And I can't tell you the place I've gone to and people are just really struggling. And our kids, we did a forum last week with 1,000 people to figure out how we can help our kids get through the stress they've been under. And for you to take this on and expose it and talk about it and say there's help, there's resources, you don't have to live under this cloud of desperation and depression. I applaud you for being the leaders that I believe the rest of the nation will now follow. So this is the kind of organization that I admire. I want to continue to support. And under the leadership of Lou, you've been extraordinary. And all those pictures, they don't tell the story. They show you look really nice with all these fancy dressed people, for no doubt about it. But the real you is out there working with the people and making sure your members are successful and being a voice for them in all levels of government, because when Lou Coletti calls, we answered and said, what do you need, Lou? Because we knew your heart was in the right place. You're representing the people that I also care deeply about. And also, your successor. I've had a chance to work closely with Elizabeth for many, many years. And I gotta say, I like tough women. I don't know why, I'm just kind of gravitate to strong, tough women. Because you have to break the mold, right? People have certain expectations of what a person looks like in a certain role. I know a little bit about this. But I have great confidence that she's gonna rise up and take the torch that was passed from Lou and the legacy he created and make that torch glow even brighter at the end of her tenure, whether it's 27 or 37 years from now. And I thank her for being the person at this time when this city so desperately needs strong, powerful voices of the industry. So with that, thank you. I'm going to bring up Lou for a nice fancy proclamation, which it is nice and long, and if I read every word of it about his bio, you'd all be probably saying, please stop, please stop. So I'm going to just tell you on behalf of our state, 20 million New Yorkers, we're grateful for the work that you've done. You have done an incredible job building back this city, and I am eternally grateful for all the service of Lou Coletti. You want me to put him to work. You want me to put him to work. Okay. That's right.